Okay. Welcome to Conversational Currency Live. We are the fastest growing platform that focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era, told through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, communication is a superpower. And what I want you to imagine is if you were able to say the right words in the right moment to every man and woman through the timeline of your life in a business setting, how different would your quality of life be? Now, as you ponder that question, I want you to also realize that I'm your host, your navigator, your conductor, Shadeed Eleazer. But today it is not about me. Who I have as a special guest is not only an entrepreneur, but an internationally known lifestyle liberator, Mr. Uwe Dockhorn. Now, Uwe, I'm very intrigued by your background and what you've accomplished. One thing that impresses me is that you've completed 15,000 one-on-one coaching sessions, and you have what is called the $1 million sentence. Can you teach us or share with us what you've learned from 15,000 conversations with talented men and women around the world?
Well, Shadeed, thank you for this nice introduction. Nice being with you today. So this is awesome. Well, a ton. So for just to summarize this in our time would be just not possible. But I think you can bring it down to one single word, and this is also in the title of your show, of the conversational currency. And you know, in my line of work, the currency that I always encounter with my clients is certainty. Means certainty within ourselves, and we already have certainty within ourselves, and that is the currency, I guess, that's the most important piece in everything I help my clients with to overcome obstacles. I'm the founder of the anti-burnout system for high achievers like medical professionals, C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, and most importantly, the VIPs, the very important partners in their life.
Now, Uwe, we're going to pretend that this is not a public conversation. This question may be more for me than it is for the audience. I have to bring this in for myself. So between me and you, what is your secret? Because one of my challenges is tunnel vision. I tend to get focused on a goal or a task or objective. And sometimes in that tunnel vision, I tend to tune out the world and those who love me most. And I suspect that many of our viewers and people who are listening on the replay often suffer with that. So how do you help for entrepreneurs or high performance people to recognize the moment while they are still driving towards their goal?
Well, it's all connected internally, and it really, I wouldn't say they suffer from being in the tunnel. If you just reframe it and flip it on the other side, what it actually means is you're in your flow. That means like you're doing something that is so important that you're totally aligned with your inner drive, and so that is something that you want to achieve. And when you're aligned with your internal self, that's a good thing. Because, it's kind of like sitting in an automatic convertible, just driving along, just have to be aware, of course, you have a brake, yeah, you have to use the brakes time to time. and then you just lift off your feet, and then you just automatically start driving again. So it kind of like, it really goes back to that experience that is possible. So to focus on something that is really aligned with you is really, I help my clients with. So therefore, I wouldn't say it necessarily as a bad thing or something negative, but it might be if you're working all the time at a high achieving level, of course, and you're not realizing where and when to brake, stop and using the brakes, essentially. I think that's just the most important thing to know. And it's all going back to, something that I developed with my clients over these 15,000 sessions as well, is it's all programmed in ourselves. And, there are 3 phases in our lives from a personal development perspective, essentially. So there's, we come into this world and we are dependent of anything, everything. Yeah, of course, we have to be fed, we have to be nurtured, we have to be cleaned, and then fed again. So that's just the repeating it until we develop into, our independence. And that is something, where, not many really have achieved yet. Many aspire to go there and feel definitely powerful and free and being in control, because that is the sign of being independent in a way. And then there's a third one, which is not to be neglected, and that is the interdependent level, which is very important regarding your relationships, not only your family relationships, to your very important partner, but also to your business partners, your friends, your colleagues. So that is really important. So in that regard, coming back to when we go to, through these life stages, so to say, we struggle, of course, and the number one thing that's stopping us from achieving, having the success, and, my line of work, I have these high achievers to achieve success with higher standards even. So then, there is our belief system that stands in the way. And I call this the elephant thinking. So I don't know if you have time for this little story, but should I go? Okay. So just imagine for a second there's an elephant family in Africa. So they live a happy life, and you know why? They go to their preferred water hole and they have mud parties there. So, and they go into these, having these mud parties, put themselves in, getting muddy and all that. And they're all enjoying this. There's Papa elephant, there's Mama elephant, there's little sister elephant, there's little brother elephant, the best time of their life. And all the other families come there too. Until one day, bad men arrive. They want to hijack the little baby elephants. So they attack and they're organized, they are strong. They grab the little baby elephant, they grab the brother elephant so they can catch the sister elephant. They carry him away and he's frightened as hell. It's kind of like, what's going on? What's going on? I want to go back to my family. What's going on here? I don't understand. So they put him in a box, they're strong. And so it gets dark, close this box, and he's frightened as hell and doesn't know what to do. So what happens is that, he got deported from Africa to another continent, of course. He got sold into a circus. And after weeks and weeks, he really tried so hard to run back to his family. But he always tells himself, I can't run away, I can't. And then finally the box opens, the circus tamer, wants to put him out. And the little brother elephant is excited. I can run back to my family. And what is he doing? He tries to run away, of course. But then, of course, the circus tamer grabs his feet, carries him, puts a rope around his leg, and closes it. And so he can't run away. So really, every time he tries so hard to run away, he simply can't. He feels, I can't run away. I can't move. I can't. This is happening day after day, week after week, month after month, years after years, and even decades after decades. And this little elephant is now a grown-up man, of course. And he got sold into a zoo. And when you go into a zoo, you sometimes see, these elephants, of course, there are various, but there's not even a rope, you know, the rope is sometimes just laying beside them. So he actually could run away. But what does he do? What do you think?
Remains.
He remains. And why is that? I think
Wow.
yeah, it's obvious. He conditioned himself. He taught himself something as a reaction to what happened to him. And that is what I call elephant thinking. And we all have these kinds of elephant thinkings. These are programmed in our belief system, and we are not conscious about it, because over time we tend to lose the memory of that. But it's still valid up today, you know, that something happened in our past, you know, without better knowing. We programmed ourselves. And this is what I call the core elephant. You know, it can really go back to the kind of like the first domino piece of a domino game. So it's kind of like, if you identify this one piece, you know, it is the root cause of causing other elephant thinkings, causing the patterns in our life, and up to today, you know, causing our and steering our behavior. So whenever we are today in a situation on the high achieving level, and even in the tunnel view, you know, kind of like, we are not aware that we still are carrying our own elephant thinking from the past. And that is kind of like, you know, it just draws 50% of our energy. It just takes up to just keep that belief system alive. And that is where I liberate my clients from, you know, liberating their vitality with this anti-burnout system that I've developed for them, so they can work and play, of course, and care of with their family and everything, you know, with 50% more energy right from the get-go. So that is why this is so powerful and so effective to all these clients. And, you know, coming back, they gain internal certainty about themselves. So, and when you gain this certainty within yourself and you step in your independence, that means you truly are in your power. And then automatically it's much easier to also go and live an interdependent relationship with your partner. Because the dynamics in those high achiever level families are not as equal as they might seem. So, you know, typically it's more like, here's the provider side, you know, he's kind of like leading, providing for his family and everything. And, you know, the family and the loved ones, you know, just essentially the VIPs, they have the feeling of, well, what about me? So I feel abandoned. And so that dynamic increases. And, you know, what I help my clients is really getting back to their independence within their relationship, being eye to eye again, and therefore also be able to help them support their children without scarring them, without the old family patterns that we all carry within us. So my work is really thorough. I'm German, so I go deep. So that's kind of like how I conduct all these 15,000 sessions.
Now, staying on the path of the baby elephant, for those of you who are viewing the broadcast, what you have to realize is that when an elephant is brought in as a baby, let's say to a circus environment or a zoo environment, they often use a chain to bond the baby. So because the urge to run away is so strong. And it may take several chains for a baby that is a bit more rambunctious, but over time, the chain begins to get smaller and smaller to when it becomes a rope, because the spirit often becomes conditioned to, let's say, the fact that you're going to be here and there's no place to go. So when it comes to the chains that we place upon our minds and the chains we place upon our spirit, Uwe, my question for you is, how can we realize in the moment when those chains are being placed upon our potential, being placed around our, let's say, our expectations, And what are some techniques that you recommend in order to identify those key moments?
Well, I just did, because this elephant story, if it resonated with any of you and your viewers and your audience, you remember that little story, because that is the key here to be prepared in the future. So it always reminds you, if you felt something at that moment when this little baby elephant was hijacked. I just had, yesterday, actually it was yesterday, we're talking with a client about confidence, and so he lost his confidence in during this time. So, and it's really, so of course, he just was thinking and not feeling. He was thinking about and putting himself into this negative downward spiral of anxiety, of fear, and making himself believe I'm not good enough in anything, and I just told him again this little story, and then it made click and made aha. Oh yes, of course. That's where he understood, oh, I could feel that. I'm just doing that to myself, because that is the tool. So this elephant thinking story, now you know it. Every time you're tapping into something that is attached to a memory in your past, you'll be much more likely to understand, oh, that's elephant thinking here. Oh, maybe that's something that's not real here because it happened in the past and I programmed myself that way. But is it true that it's happening right now? I think that's all that you need to understand here.
Very, very powerful mindset thinking. Now, for the high performance people who are viewing this broadcast, there's oftentimes a pressure in that if you're building a business in a lifestyle that you're managing when you're single, there's less expectations, but it's an entirely different animal when you're building a lifestyle that has to sustain, provide for, and support a family structure. What would be some pointers that you would offer to the high performance person who is looking to maintain a family and keep the balance between reaching their goals and staying present for their family or tribe?
Well, what typically happens is at that level is that the provider, so to say, just providing for the family, is they do so many things, but just in a mind coming from a mindset, oh, I'm doing this for my family. But essentially what is happening is they increase this dynamic internally in the family. So that is the situation that's there. So therefore, I really recommend to work with me longer term. So we're gonna have a program for them to really work with both partners. And that's really, clients love this. So I don't coach them, together. I'm, working mostly as a one-on-one premium coach. So I work with the provider and the VIP. And then, they understand, and then they will be able to reclaim their independence, even in their relationship. And only then they understand, oh, this is why I'm doing this to you, and this is why I'm doing this to you. So at least we have the family basis, coming eye to eye, increasing the level of energies and also the ability to lead. Because when you don't have like these energy drawing elephant thinkings and patterns, still attached to you, you're much quicker, you're much more up to the task in front of you, and then you can make better decisions. And at that level, split seconds decide about the decision making. And that is also when you come from a currency perspective of certainty within about yourself, who you are, what you actually love to do, what is the exact $1 million sentence that you mentioned earlier. That gives you clear direction and guidance. So if you have certainty about that, just imagine what would be possible if you have that. And even if you understand why you're here and everything is aligned with your true why and purpose in life, you are at a much higher level. And that's when I say, okay, achieving success with higher standard. That means when you go to that level, it's a real transformation that helps them. And to answer your question, it's difficult to just give you one tip here, one tip there. I think it's a comprehensive line of work that I put together since more than 12 years now with my clients, and that is why it is so effective. And of course, we have also something for to really go, and this is what liftoff means, the event that is coming up, because therefore we created something as having a group experience, but also having some laser coaching attached for people who want to join and get directly coached by me during this 3-day event. So we created something that is really helpful to them and can be the answer to that, because we have these. Should I get into that? Is that okay?
Oh, yes.
Cool. So thank you. So we have these 3 pillars of the event, and the event is structured like this. So the first day we have the you part. So it's absolutely everything around you, and also what is missing in your life. And so to clear the fog and also the numbness, and to help you bring clarity and also harness the power within this pause, but also for much more. So it's really centric about you yourself. And if you come with your partner, of course, both of you can really focus on each other's own agenda here. So what is missing in your life? That's the first day. The second day, we will focus on the family part. So what's at stake if nothing changes, essentially, in your family? And there are, every second medical professional now experiences burnout in their practice. So that's a fact. So it could be you, anybody, that's the question here. So therefore we focus on the second day on to leave fear behind, as you accelerate towards your mission to share your message with the world. And the third day is all about community. Just imagine for a second what is possible, when the you within your family now will be able, what will you be able to do within your community? What can you achieve? Imagine what is possible. So to move forward with more meaning and a refreshed purpose, to leave your legacy in your community. So, and the overall promise here is so we all can create never-ending impact, and just by liberating your vitality.
Ladies and gentlemen, during this time, it's important to reset in order to move forward. Momentum is a very powerful way to start with a single win and to bring that forward to greater success. Now, it's one level to achieve success for the individual. So if you are successful, that is only one phase. The next questions that you need to ask is, how can I use that momentum to benefit my family and start to change the thinking and the mindset within my household? And how can I sharpen my mission in order to benefit my community as a whole? And during this time, there are more questions being asked of ourselves in the world than at any point in time in history. And what Uwe has put together over a 3-day virtual event is the opportunity to gain direct guidance in terms of the self or you, your family, as well as community via the Lift Off Summit. Now, for you to take the next step, what you are to do is to go to bit.ly/the liftoff 2020 and register for the event, which takes place on June 4th through 6th from the comfort of your own home. Log into your web browser and take place and work on yourself during this time so that as a high performance professional, high performance entrepreneur, you have the roadmap with coaching, with accountability that allows for you to get the most of yourself so that you can command more of yourself, have the guidance to lead your family, and make the change that you want to see in the world in terms of your community. Any final thoughts for our audience, Uwe?
Well, thank you for recapping that. I appreciate it very much. So for final thoughts, I guess it's important to understand that change is possible. You know, we all got so much to do on the high achiever level, the more, but what this pause, you know, we're living through right now has shown us, you know, just to step back a little bit, you know, we got a total different perspective here. And this will be the opportunity to gain that momentum and that perspective for yourself. So there are really critical numbers out there. You know, I just mentioned that every second medical professional experiences burnout, but there are even, even people at this work at this highest level in the medical field. Essentially, they also commit suicide. So that's kind of like very tragic. And the latest thing I've read in an article in the Washington Post was that, you know, members of the family, you know, committed suicide in the same manner than the family member. So, and, you know, this just broke my heart. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. So it's really about, you know, we are capable of change. I cracked the code of transformation for my clients. I cracked it for myself when I needed it. And I help my clients to do that. So the message is really about, you know, it's time to lift off with energizing results now.
bit.ly/the Liftoff 2020. The Liftoff Summit takes place on June 4th through 6th, 2020. It is a virtual event, and take the next step, register for the event. This has been a discussion that has taken us beneath the surface into the inner workings of what makes us tick as human beings, what our responsibility is in leading our families, and the role we play within our communities, which are collections of families. What Uwe has provided you is a glimpse into some of the strategies that will allow you to be successful, and the next step, which is the Liftoff Summit, which when you attend, you will gain life-changing information, tips, and tools. On behalf of Uwe Dockhorn, I'm Shadeed Eleazer, and you've been tuning in to Conversational Currency. This is the fastest growing platform which focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era, told through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us, and for that, we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in.